This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill.
I'm somewhat more comfortable collecting real estate than I am collecting other stuff.
Big episode today. We have the Cash Flow Cowboy, also known as Justin Wawrzyniak, with us. He is a member of Cash CRE, and I'm excited to hear more about his story. Justin, can you tell us how you got into the industry, how you got started with real estate?
Yeah. So at the age of 18, I was actually probably not the best kid in the world. If you ask my parents, I got in a little bit of trouble. Ended up getting arrested twice before at the age of 18. Just a tough situation. But then by graduating college, I ended up top of my class engineer. So there was like the first life lesson in there about proximity is power. I changed my friend group, changed my environment, and I succeeded as a result. And then right on the tail end of university, I read a book that most everybody reads, and that's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? That purple book that changes everyone's lives. So it got me started. 2 years into being an engineer full time in the Midwest, I actually left, retired engineering, went out on my own, full time real estate. And then that was about, I think that was at the age of 24, 25 years old. I got licensed. I started selling real estate, selling small multifamily for other people to build generational wealth. And then at the age of 26, so a year and a half ago, just before turning 26, I met a mentor and friend, Marco Barbaro, which Bill knows as well. And he is the head of our mastermind. I met him, and then I also met David Tupin, another mastermind. And between the two of them, they provided the mentorship that I needed over the last year and a half to go from 0 units to we have 59 apartment units now with a contract that just got signed. So very exciting stuff that's happened in, last year and a half, not even year and a half.
Awesome. Cash Flow Cowboy. Great to have you on this morning. I agree. This will be a fun one because you're a fun guy. You've got a lot to talk about, and it's all exciting stuff. When you got into real estate as a licensed realtor, were you just trying to make that step in life based on, having trouble at 18 years old and then quitting engineering, getting licensed as a realtor? Were you going to make being a realtor your source of income, or did you know you were going to get into multifamily at that point?
Yeah, it's a great question, Bill. I mean, if you think about it, I had just had like a very secure, stable engineering salary, right? For in all considerations, right? I grew up in middle class America with like a lot of people. I had two parents that were W-2 workers that preached to me day in and day out the most secure thing, the best thing you can do in life is go get a good education and then go work for the next 60 years of your life for a pension or for a 401k as your retirement, depending on when you started, right? And that was the goal, that was the dream. That's the best thing you can do. So I did that, but then I quickly realized that I was capped at where I could like mobility upwards, right? The only way I could make more income or be more successful as this W-2 in corporate America was the formula, like more time in equals more money out. Well, you only have a finite amount of time per day. And I was just not willing to go for that model. And so that's why I actually got licensed as a realtor, because I knew if I was going to make the transition, it was a stepping stone. So if I knew I was going to make the transition to a full-time investor, well, I had to replace that income somehow. A lot of people, right? You hear a lot of people, they'll wait until they have passive income that equals out their salary or something like that, and then they'll be like, okay, now I'm going to step away from my job. I was 25 at the time, 24 at the time. I didn't have passive income. I don't know about you guys at 24. I don't think you had enough passive income coming in to replace your salary. So what I did was I used that realtor gig for a year and a half as a stepping stone into the industry. And by doing it, right? A lot of people will also do very similar, right? If you want to learn the industry, you can do coaching programs. Highly recommend, do coaching programs. But then you also need that experience doing it, being in it, going through transactions. So that first year we did, I did, around 25-ish transactions, 4.4 plus million in total sales, which is like really good for a first year realtor. But it was that experience that gave me like the confidence to now take the next step and go into multifamily, which has been incredible. Now it's like, all right, now we're buying these things ourselves, which I don't know about you. It feels good to be like, all right, and I can't wait to see what these look like in 10, 15, 20 years, right? I should be able to retire at the age of 35. Who knows if I keep this stuff up, right?
Yeah, it is fun looking ahead. Justin, were you on Jake and Gino podcast?
I was not on Jake and Gino, but I love a lot of Jake and Gino guys. Almost so you're gonna love this. When we were down in where Bill and I really connected, right? Was earlier this year down in Tampa, Florida. We were actually at MIH event, so Gino's brother Marco put on that event, and instead of going golfing on the Friday, it was like the Friday before. Instead of going golfing, I decided, hey, I was going to drive in early to go deep sea fishing with Hadar, and Gino was going to be on there deep sea fishing. We all show up. It's like what, 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m., ready for this fishing trip, and the captain essentially was like, "Shut it down. It's too choppy out. No one can go." So ended up instead just sitting there having a nice long lunch with a bunch of the MIH Jake and Gino guys and Gino, which was nice. But I would have loved to get out there and got some big old, trophy fish
Next time.
for my
Next
efforts.
time.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked, your story sounded really familiar, but I guess that's because a lot of us are similar in this industry. I definitely resonate with your story a little bit. Growing up in that middle class America, maybe getting a little bit of trouble around the age of 18, starting W-2 out of college and realizing that wasn't it. I'm not doing this for another 40 years. And also started investing about a year and a half ago, and here we are. So you said you're at 59 units at this point. Can you tell us about how you got to that point? That's a really impressive number. How'd you get started?
Yeah. So relationships are everything, right? So when I joined those masterminds, that's when I had, you could probably relate with Steven, right? You're like, man, I just read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I just have this, like, it clicked, right? Everything clicked, and you're like, I have this burning desire. It's like, I want to buy I want to be a real estate maverick, whatever, multifamily maverick. But then you're just like, what do I do? Like, it's like that excitement starts to fade away, where you realize that you really have no idea what you're doing at first, right? So what I did was I joined networks of individuals so that when the excitement came down, I had the network there and the support group to keep me motivated, and I can see them having success. Now I'm like, oh, I want to have that. So it keeps you motivated, keeps you accountable, right? So that's essentially was the blueprint, was joining those. Like, that's what started it all off, was joining those masterminds. And what I learned from there is actually a lot of the systems and stuff that we use in our direct to seller business are straight from those. And so if you want to talk about like why we've had success in the last year and a half, where it's definitely been, a seller's market, hot market, right, is that we've gone direct to seller. And so we've built an entire business around it. We have all the technology in place. We track leads. Man, I brought on a full-time acquisition specialist in the last 6 months. He's making anywhere from 150 to 250 calls and texts a day to potential owners. And as a result, we've realized that we can really beef up operations. So now I have the team kind of has, it's like 4 of us as partners, and then we have I have the one-time or the full-time acquisition specialist, and together we're kind of driving this direct to seller. And as a result, right? So the first year, all I did was one apartment unit the first year, one apartment complex. It was a 10 unit in Indiana. And a lot of people are like, oh, 10 units, whatever. Okay. okay, that is 10 more investment units than anyone in my family, mom, dad, siblings, anyone in my extended family, cousins, uncles, grandparents, anything. That is a huge mind shift change for our entire family, just a 10 unit apartment build. So that's like where it all started. The first year was, if you think about it, it was just that one, right? You got the one under the belt. And then this last 2022, we've already closed 3 deals. I've wholesaled another one. And then we have that recent complex that we just got under contract, which will put me at 59 units. So I guess to sum it up, it's been, relationship based, right? Joining the right networks, getting around the right partners, and then we've had a lot of success direct to seller to try to combat the fact that, things on the market are a little bit higher priced than they were, let's say 2-3 years ago.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, just to tag on to that, 95% of people, period, have never purchased a rental property. So we sit here in the vortex that we get involved in because we know how proximity is power. So on a daily basis, when I go through my social media feeds, it looks like everybody is in multifamily real estate because that's all I focus on. So somehow the algorithms just give me multifamily investors on my social media page, which is in the percentage of the population, not many people get involved in this. Going back to your original 10 unit, did you already have that 4-person partnership established, or did the partnership evolve as you started buying buildings?
Great. Yeah. So another highlight of why these masterminds were so important is I joined the mastermind with no partnerships. I had nothing. It was just me showing up with a bundle of energy. And what was super cool about that was those 2 other partners on that were straight up from the mastermind, right? And so we linked up. We didn't have to do the formalities because it was like, hey, we're in the same network. We've already been vetted to be in this network together. Let's start working together. And then that's how it works. So me and the other gentleman, George, who found the deal, a cold text message to the property owner just out of the blue. Cold text message. Just saying, it was probably 2 sentences. Hey, Bill, or whatever his name was, Mike. I forget at this point. Hey, Mike, interested in your building. Do you know who the owner is so we can talk about if you want to buy, or, if you want to sell it? And then he just put, dash George, and then that's all it took. And the guy named his own price. We got this at $35,000 a door for a 1994 build property. Like, it was just a steal. And we actually just had our quarterly call the other day, and we're looking to refinance, and we should have already doubled the value of the property since we took over in July of last year. So, a year ago at this point. So that's been like a huge added benefit to these masterminds, is the fact that they provide you the partnerships that you need to succeed in the industry, right? And Bill, Steven, you guys both know this. There's no doing real estate, whatever, yeah, we are in our little silo of real estate. There's no doing this without other partners. Like, it's not a one-man show by any means, and it involves somehow partnering up, whether that's you need someone that is going to manage your properties, or you need someone that is going to bring all the capital because you find all the deals, right? Something like that. There's partnerships that are inherent in doing this business, and as soon as you come to terms with the fact that you'll most likely never own 100% equity in the deal, but it doesn't matter because any equity in a deal that gets done is much better than 100% equity in that deal that doesn't get done. So
You get the deal done, you start getting your cash flow.
Exactly. And as a result, that's why you've seen such a great, we've kind of taken off this year, is we have those strategic partnerships set up.
Direct to seller is so powerful. Did you say you guys doing 150 dials a day?
Yeah. So it calls and texts. So I'll give like a quick and dirty. I won't give all the secrets. I'll give some secrets here, but essentially we have, the most important thing is we're feeding good leads into the system, right? A lot of times we get really bad lists, and as a result, we get really bad leads, and we're like, wow, I can't believe that happened, right? It's really self-explanatory, but we feed good leads in, and then what we'll do is we'll call them first. If they don't pick up, we'll send a follow-up text essentially addressing the fact that we just called them, right? And then we'll try that maybe 3 times. If they still don't answer, we'll follow up at a later date. We don't say they're junk because they're not junk. They just haven't answered yet. And we'll just keep hitting them. We'll just keep hitting them. And then if they do pick up, they don't want to sell. Hey, that doesn't mean they're a junk lead. That means we need to call them at a later date because life happens. Shit happens, right? Crap happens, right? They could be totally good today, and in 6 months they could be going through a nasty divorce, in which case we will be able to help them out by getting that apartment building off their books and sell it, right? So things change. And as a result, we kind of just have this huge list of a couple thousand leads at this point that we're just strategically pinging at different intervals and texting and calling. So that 150 number, that's calls and texts per day, right? 150 to 250,
okay,
right? And usually he could
that's still pretty big.
he could do 300. We don't have the bandwidth to handle that many potential leads all at once.
Yeah, my first W-2 was dialing for dollars, full time, and if you hit 80, that's a good day, 80 calls. But we were taught,
Yeah.
a pretty big company. We went through a whole sales training, and their system's pretty similar to yours. So I think you're doing it right. It's all about the follow up. Everyone's gonna sell eventually. You just want to be
Yeah.
the person they call when they do.
No, and as Justin mentioned, life does happen there. Not only would people may get divorced or have a health issue, anything like that, but you get them on the right day when they're having a tenant problem or a building problem. That timing is fantastic with certain people. But I also want to jump on. You have someone doing 150 touches a day on the direct to seller, and you mentioned that you started the direct to seller campaign originally. Do you still do that, or have you moved on to a different part of what a partnership needs, like raising money or asset managing, or what else? What are you doing other than the direct to seller at this point?
I am trying to be as much of a, work on the business versus in the business as I can. Definitely at first, and I
Good move.
go ahead, Bill.
Good
Good
move.
move. Yeah, exactly. Right. So I started off where I was definitely like the person that was essentially let me take a step back. How we set it up is the acquisition specialist is the first point of contact, and they'll filter through all the leads. And then if it's a warm lead or a hot lead, that's when I would historically step in and try to close that deal. And at that point, you need to like closing the deal. I mean, it's fun to say like, yeah, I closed the deal, but it's like the effort that goes into that. Like these are relationships that you have to build, and just think about your relationship with your life partner, right? It's not easy to get someone to trust you and like you. So you have to invest in that relationship. And so as a result, usually that investment is a time investment to building that, being consistent with them, following up. And so what I realized is as we started to scale, I didn't have the time bandwidth to commit to that. So as a result, in my own business, I became the bottleneck, right? I was legitimately, I'd go to these real estate conferences and I'd come back and we'd have multiple leads that I was supposed to follow up with in the last, 5 days or whatever it was that I just dropped the ball on because I didn't have the time to do that, right? So, similar, it's like, all right, well, either we have this issue or we solve this issue. And solving the issue is essentially bringing in more team members, dividing up, giving away potential ownership, more ownership in these deals to bring in partners, right? But it means that we can do more and more deals a year. That's what it's all about. So now we have other people that can help for Indiana specifically, right? We have 2 guys that if a hot lead comes in, they're the ones that are taking it. And then where I can shift my focus to, which is my superpower in a sense is bringing together the right people to purchase a deal, the right partners, right? So if I know it's a good deal and we just got it under contract, that's where usually that's where I shine, right? I'm like, okay, what needs to be done to get this thing closed and who needs to be brought into the partnership to get this thing closed. And that's kind of where I've kind of shifted to, is that type of role, is bringing, connecting people.
I think you're explaining the common problem in this industry is that bottleneck, but the important part is that you recognized it and you did something to solve it. I definitely relate because when I started working with Bill, I was cold calling and reaching out all the time. And now in my own properties, I don't have the time. So we're looking to bring someone on to fill that role and keep those warm leads going. So I know you're the cash flow cowboy. I know you're out of Michigan. I usually think of Michigan hockey players, not cowboys. Do you also invest in Michigan, or where's your primary focus as far as market?
Texas. He's a cowboy.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd think I would be down in Texas as a cowboy. So I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. I moved to Indianapolis for that engineering job I touched on earlier. And then my fiance is actually in Michigan, so that's why I've moved up there. And the beautiful thing about the real estate industry is you can technically do it anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country, right? One of our partners from the 10 unit is from New Zealand, right? And he underwrites deals for people from New Zealand. Like if you're like, oh, I'm in New York or I'm in California, like my markets is not great for investing. I can't invest. You're like, wrong. Yes, you can. You definitely still can invest. It's just you have to find the right partner. So I am in Michigan now, which is full of hockey players. So as a result, I've kind of gotten into more of the hockey stuff. But I think ultimately we'll keep investing in Indiana and Michigan, which are our two primary markets, just because we have familiarity there. And once the direct to seller systems are, very optimized, we'll actually start linking up with different teams and boots on the ground in other markets and start exploring those as well.
No, and that's awesome. And what I've noticed with you as well is you're fantastic at networking. And I've also noticed along with the networking sometimes comes with a lot of travel. And I think that you like to get around quite a bit. Tell us about
that
getting to
sounds
different
so that
areas.
sounds so wrong, Bill. You think I like to get around? I do. I love travel.
Well, however you want to look at that, but you like to get around the country, network, get involved in different aspects of real estate with different potential partners, different areas of the country. I saw that you're going to be making your way to New York in 3 weeks or so for it's one night of networking, but you see the value there.
Exactly. Exactly. So, one of the things is yes, I love this travel. Like I love the travel. And it's very much so. Like you've probably read all the business books and stuff where in the historic, like when I was growing up, historically in school, they would teach you that if you were bad at something like math, let's say, for a subject, that you need to spend extra time on math to learn it, right? You need to become better. That's your weakness. You need to spend time to get better at it. I do not agree with that philosophy whatsoever, right? What I think is that if you're good at something, you need to be doing that and that only, and then you need to be trying to find partners that fill your weaknesses. And what I mean by that is I love the travel, and that's why I do it so much, is because that's my strength. Like I love the networking side. I do have some extroverted tendencies, right? So I enjoy that quite a bit, and as a result, you can see like not to toot my own horn, but I'm able to do it pretty well, right? Whereas an introvert might look at that and they might be like, no way, no how, I'm not going to go fly into New York. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm only going to talk to like one or two people. And it's like, yes, it might not make sense for them, but if they can link up with an extrovert who will do that, then they can focus on, underwriting the deals or doing, finding the deals or maybe even some of the social media stuff. Right. So that's what I would say is if you can focus on your strengths with which one of mine and what I think one of mine is networking, then I'm able to kind of stay fulfilled. And that's why I do enjoy that traveling so much, is because I'm doing something that I like and that I'm good at, and not spending a bunch of time doing stuff that I don't enjoy.
I completely agree. Focus on your strengths, whatever feels like a light lift for you. Are you going to the White Plains meetup in July?
I will be there. I am flying from Sacramento, California, which is where I'm at now, all the way to New York for 2, 3 nights, just to go to a couple meetups with Marco, a mentor friend, who runs the mastermind. I just know proximity of power. It's that it doesn't matter. The price point you put on these real estate networks, the price point you put on coaching programs and stuff like that. At the end of the day, they're all worth it, because if you can get one deal, or you can have, you can sit down to one dinner and you hear them talk about, hey, I did this wrong when I bought they bought their 96 unit and they might have done this wrong. That's one conversation that could potentially save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So the opportunity cost is what it's all about. And so that's what I like to view my life as opportunity costs. And where can I spend money knowing that there's will be a return of value, return on time, by doing that. And one of those is travel to more and more events and networking.
I love that big picture
What's
outlook,
your
the delayed
what are you looking to
gratification.
do over the next five or 6 months? I remember I mentioned to you at that dinner we had back in geez, when was it? March or April down in Florida. And I had mentioned to you that you were going so quickly. And I think one of your mentors was mentioning, hey, slow down a little bit, slow down, which is interesting because that's usually not what we want to hear, or it's not what our mentors tell us. You're in high speed here, and you're able to handle whatever comes across your plate at this point.
Yeah. So I've been told, yeah, it was Hadar. He's like the guiding light. He's like the rated in type guy, and that's why him and Marco work so well for their mastermind. Is the visionary integrator type relationship. And so Hadar actually sent me a very good book. It's called Mistakes That Millionaires Make. And it is, a lot of times the mistakes are made in that growth period, where you're just like, all you think is that this is normal. It's normal to just be bringing on properties left and right, which in reality it's not. You're just, the timing's really good, and you need to make sure you do take a step back and you reflect on what you've done and make sure you're not neglecting the properties that you just purchased. And so as a result, what I've been able to do is bring in people that can almost do asset management in a sense on those existing properties, so that I can keep my focus going on what my strength is, and that's acquisitions, right? Putting together the partnerships. And so that's very important. If you're coming in and you're saying you're going to asset manage and acquire a bunch of properties, well, it's like you got to do one or the other if you want to do it successful. So we have definitely kind of taken a step back and been like, all right, let's make sure these properties that we have purchased are doing well, which they all are, which is actually great. And that's because there's great people on the partnership that have been able to step up and handle some of the day to day that is necessary to make sure that these are well taken care of, right? Especially when you first purchase. So a lot of times when you purchase, you're renovating, 50, 60, 70% of the property in the next year, over the next year, to try to increase those rents. Well, if you're not going to be the construction manager or the asset manager, it's like, we need someone on your partnership that will do that for you, so you can focus on, acquiring more or something like that.
Mistakes that millionaires make. I haven't heard of that one. I need to check that out. So
It's a good
you
one.
are focusing on yeah. Sounds like a good one. You're focusing on acquisitions. I love that space as well. I'm wondering what you've seen in the market, because you started about a year and a half ago. You said it's been definitely a seller's market, and now we're transitioning into this weird period where people are saying it is a recession. We're entering a recession, and inflation's up, rates are up. How are you seeing these conversations with sellers change?
They don't have as much leverage. They the fact that interest rates are going up scares a lot of investors, right? There are a lot of people are scared because they're like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to buy it. I would just say do your underwriting with that in mind, that interest rates are going up, right? Factor that in, and then come to a number that works. And it's probably going to be a number that was lower than it was, 5 months ago, 4 months ago. But that's okay because that's you still have you have a reason. So the fact that interest rates are going up is an easy selling point for you, especially going direct to seller, to say, hey, this is why I can only offer you this amount for your property. It's because rates are going up. And the beautiful thing is there's an inherent, right, in sales, you kind of like you want to put like a deadline on them, right? So they have to make a decision. Well, they need to make a decision soon because as rates go up, your price goes down, right? So, hey, if you really want to sell, we don't know where the rates are going to be at the end of the year. Do you want to sell now and definitely lock us in at this price? Or, if we call you back in 3 months, we might not be able to offer as much just simply because the rates have gone up. And so as a result, you're able to kind of I don't want to say pressure. That sounds really bad. I don't want to like pressure someone to sell, but you're able to present a little bit more leverage on your side as the potential buyer of why they should sell to you at this price, and then why, and like timing, like right now or not in the future. So that's been super, super helpful. So we've seen those conversations go a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's sales. The sellers were in an amazing position before. They certainly didn't feel bad of just throwing crazy prices at us and say, how high can I go on this property? Now you're talking to some sellers and they're feeling a little bit of that FOMO where did I wait too long, and they have fear of missing out that they need to sell on this high end before potentially their prices may go down a little bit. So it is what it is. That's negotiating deals. And I love how you're very, very focused on working on the business, not in the business. So as you're doing your effective direct to seller campaigns and you bump into that, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 unit that is worthwhile to purchase, and you're looking to put that team together, what's that role that you need to fill if you're really looking to take that next step up on a much larger asset?
So the big business needs, right? So this is the way that I'm trying to model our structure, our partnerships and stuff is very similar to the Sharpline Equity and Marco partnership, because if anyone is aware of them, they've been closing a ton of deals in the last 2 years. And so I get to talk to Chris Jackson and Krista and Joe, a lot of these members of Sharpline and Marco, quite a bit through these different events. And what I realize is that they have very defined roles within the business that each individual, it's like they have the right seats on the bus filled, right? So it's like they have the right people in the right seats. And so one of the things that I've noticed that they've been able to scale with is Marco came on as, the primary source of capital, right? He's very, very good at attracting capital. Chris and Chris's company is very good at acquisitions, finding deals, and then managing and running deals. Very good. Some of the best in the business. And so what took them to the next level is they actually brought in someone who had building experience. So he was a builder, construction experience. And so this has been crucial to them because now they have confidence with what they're acquiring, because this guy can literally walk. He can almost do like pseudo inspections before they buy the property that says, is this a good asset? Was this built well? Are you going to run into thousands and thousands of dollars worth of potential issues or not? And so that's essentially how they've structured. They got a solid team that does acquisitions and management. They have a solid individual that is raising capital, attracting capital. And then the last piece, essentially, that has taken them to the next level is now someone that has construction building experience. That's part of, almost like a consultant on the team. So I see them do this. I see them have success. And what do you think I do, Bill? I'm like, all right, how do I find a guy with construction experience that I can bring in? How do I find partners who know how to raise capital? And so, for instance, this deal we just got under contract, 27 units in downtown, just outside of downtown Indianapolis, right? Brought off market. And I knew that my specialty is finding deals, right? That's what I've built my business on. So instead of just trying to be like, all right, we'll just figure this out, I brought someone in from the MIH group that has the ability to raise the capital. And that is now their responsibility to raise the capital. And then the person who actually manages it currently has a ton of construction experience and who I trust dearly. And they're able to shield me from those potential issues as well. So I was able to, just on a 27 unit, essentially take the lessons learned, right? The firsthand lessons learned, and then just implement them into the partnership. And so we can keep the partnership team on the GP side small, but it means that each person has a very, very defined role that's going to benefit us overall. And we make sure we cover all of our bases, right?
Not only does it help you find the next deal because you're focusing on the business, it helps you sleep at night when you're not the one focusing on something that's out of your comfort zone and you're trying to do something that you're not really qualified for. It gives you that peace of mind. So 59 units in about a year and a half, really impressive. What's for the next year and a half?
We are looking to you know what? I'm going to put a guarantee on it. Can I put a guarantee on it? 300 units,
Yeah, we love that.
300
We
units,
love certainty.
300 units by 30 years old. That is the goal. That is what I want to get to. And originally the goal for this year was just simply 50 units, get up to the 50 unit mark, and then kind of use that exponential growth to get to 300 by 3 years. There's a good chance we hit 75 units this year and potentially even to 100 if some of these current leads that we have going close. So 300 units by 30 is the goal. And then if we can smash that goal, I'd be even more thrilled, more excited. And that's going to be multifamily. That's going to be short-term rentals, right? We did a short-term rental conversion. We just had our quarterly call on that. And man, I want to convert everything to short-term rentals. The numbers and the income that we're getting on this property. And we converted, so we converted a fourplex and two houses. They all have a shared parking lot in a town in Indiana that has really no Airbnbs, like no short-term rental presence at all. And it's a small town. Like there's nothing too special about it other than there's people living there and there's a high median household income. And the income that I've seen on just the first unit that we've converted, I'm ready to convert every single unit in my portfolio to short-term rentals because we went from a 700 average, monthly rent, and we're going to be able to pull roughly, 22 to 2,400 a month once these are stable per unit once these are stabilized Airbnbs. And that's insane. 3x the income. And yes, of course you pay, like this is another thing. A lot of people manage their own Airbnbs. Well, no, we have, just similar to like having an apartment building with a property manager, we have a property manager for our short-term rentals, and they're phenomenal. And you pay them more, right? It's usually like 15 to 20% for a short-term rental property manager, but it doesn't matter because they're tripling the income. That's pennies. Like that is nothing. And that means I can now use my time to go buy more properties versus manage the existing property. So we're very excited about that. So between multifamily, short-term rentals, we're going to try to get to 300 units, or we will get 300 units by 30 years old.
I love that, using language properly. You will get to 300 units. That's key. What's also key with what I noticed, you're seeing other highly professional partnerships that have gotten to well over 1,000 units in a short period of time, and you're utilizing their success, leaving clues for you to grow your business, and you're able to work on your business. I love that, Justin. This is the Collecting Real Estate podcast. So they say you have to have three of something to make a collection. So we've got three questions for you to wrap this up. Number one, in 5 words or less, what's the most important thing you've learned since you started collecting real estate?
Relationships are everything. 3 words. Boom. Relationships are everything. Can't
Bam.
do it alone.
Short and sweet. Love that. Number two, what are your 1 to 2 year personal goals?
Yes. So I just accomplished one of my big ones, and that was getting engaged 3 weeks ago. I actually got engaged. We had been, you're going to love this. We had been dating for 9 years before we got engaged. So definitely made sure I vetted that partnership well, for lack of a better word there. But yeah, so that was a huge personal goal, was getting engaged. And then she's in medical school. So the next big personal goal in the next couple of years is going to find a nice home once she goes to residency that we can actually put down some roots in an area for a long period of time. We've been moving around quite a bit.
So based on simple math here, high school sweetheart?
High school sweetheart. Yes, indeed. My senior year. And talk about relationships or
Awesome.
everything. I mean, she's seen me. She was there when I got arrested. She was there when, both times. She was there when I went and became, and graduated top of my class, engineering. She was there when I decided, hey, I'm going to leave this secure, stable job to go into real estate full time. And, vice versa. I was there for her. She has a ton of life changes as well. And so, like I said, relationships are everything, and a great one can change your life.
Sure. And I'm in the middle of raising some money on a deal right now. So the only thing that I can think of, because I'm in that mode, is, oh wow, your fiance is in the medical industry. What a honey hole to raise money on that next big deal.
Yep. Physicians are
That's
great
awesome.
investors, fantastic investors.
Yes. Yeah. They've got money that they need to put somewhere, and what's a better space than real estate? As we know, it's the best investment vehicle possible. Last question for you: how can we and the listeners assist you, and how do we contact you?
The best way, if you guys want a little bit of entertainment in your day, if you want to get the algorithms feeding you more real estate on your social media profiles, go ahead and follow me, Cash Flow Cowboy, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's probably just my name, Justin Wawrzyniak, trying to be a little bit more professional on the LinkedIn. And then ultimately, if someone listening, you resonate with the story and you want to connect a little bit further, go to my website, www.commercialrealestate.com. And there's like an invest with us section where if you want to, if you're interested in investing passively, you can fill out a form there. Or if you're interested in, co-GPing, JVing, or KPing on a deal more on the active side, you can fill out a form there as well.
Beautiful. I think me and Steven will see you in 3 weeks or so for that White Plains event. We're excited about that. The one other item I got to point out, I know you're the Cash Flow Cowboy, but you threw out the multifamily Maverick. Someone going to steal that on you?
It's my alternate ego, I guess. I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe that's going to be when I drop my mixtape. I'll be the multifamily Maverick on that.
Awesome. Great episode, Justin. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, guys. You both are amazing, and I love what you guys are doing. So thanks for having me on. It means a lot.